What are you going to interview me for, Rachel?
A project for U.S. history and American government.
That tells you what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, now press it.
Press stop?
Sing you a song to start with.
No, that's okay. Alright, tell me your name.
My name is James R. Hayes. I was a private for a year, 2 years, first class, and when I left I was a technical sergeant.
What's that?
That is one rank under first sergeant. I was over the maintenance
Over the maintenance.
of all the vehicles.
Oh. Alright. Where were you living when Pearl Harbor was bombed?
Camp Shelby, Mississippi.
Mississippi. Well, what were your thoughts and fears and feelings on the war?
Well, we had a war, and everybody has a bad idea of when a war is declared. We didn't know what was going to happen.
How did it change your life?
Well, it didn't change my life because it was already in the Army.
Oh. Okay. Would you explain how the draft was implemented and your personal experience with the draft?
Well, it wasn't a draft, it was, we were supposed to spend 1 year in the Army training under selective service. Roosevelt put all of our numbers in a little bowl and then pulled out numbers, and the ones that pulled out first had to go. I was the first one out of Huntington, West Virginia.
You were.
Yeah.
Was that scary? Was that scary?
No, I didn't mind going. I had to quit my job and go.
Where were you working?
C.D. Kenny Grocery Company.
Oh. Well.
Now, you see, you learned something you didn't know.
Yep, I sure did.
You shut it off and on?
How did this affect your family members?
Well, they didn't want to see me go, but there was no war. It was April of 1941, so they weren't too concerned.
All right. What about your brothers?
Well, they were younger brothers, and they didn't worry about it.
Didn't they have to go too?
After the war started, they all had to go. Had 4 of the brothers to go.
What branches of the service were they in?
2 of them was in the Army. 2 of them was in the Army, and 2 of them was in the Navy.
All right. What about Betty? What did she do?
Well, she stayed home.
Did she ever go to any of the USO dances?
I don't know. I wasn't around.
Huh. Worst thing about the war?
Well, there's an awful lot of boys lost their lives there, I guess.
What are some of the sacrifices you had to make?
Well, I wasn't being home, and you had to eat out of a barracks bag. You had to carry all your belongings in a barracks bag. No barracks to sleep in. Tents, pup tents. And believe me, some of that ground was rocky, and it was rough. Foxholes.
Where were you most of the time?
Well, we were in Casablanca. Then we went to Safi in Morocco and unloaded equipment. And then we went to Algiers. And then we went to Italy. We hit that island off Italy, then at the toe, and then we went up through Italy Then we hit the beach at Marseilles, Nice at Marseilles, Lyons, Metz, clear up to Germany.
Where were you when you heard about the war being over?
We was in Remagen, I can't remember that name, in Germany.
Glad to go into the Army.
Well, I didn't decide.
Well, I thought you said you were already in the Army before the...
Well, Roosevelt selected us in a selective service, and we had to go.
Oh.
Wouldn't know where we wanted to go or where we didn't. We went.
Hmm. Where did you do your basic training?
Camp Shelby, Mississippi.
Who were some of your friends and buddies? Where were they from?
Well, most of them was from Indiana. Shut it off, I guess, to you. Echelon right behind the lines, taking care of the vehicles.
What were the worst things about your experiences?
Bombers.
Tell me about that.
Well, in Palermo, Sicily, his dive bombers come over and we thought we had it.
Tell me about the cow.
Well, that's when the American soldiers, we went through there and they found this concentration camp, and that's when they really started to clean up the Germans, when they found out what Hitler was doing to the Jews. And they put a Jew over the camp to straighten it out and get them in there, and the old mayor from the neighboring town said, "You can't do that." And that's when they said, "Well, I believe we can, and if you don't get over and tell them people to straighten out," said, "you'd all blow the whole town up." And the shape that the people was in that camp. Worked with them a long time to get them back so they could eat and get back on their feet. Clothe them, get some clothes on them. I didn't know Hitler could be that no account. Well, they took them as prisoners of war. They were soldiers.
Well, what branch, who were you under? Who was your commander?
When we landed at Casablanca, I don't know who the commander was, but when we was there about a month, they sent old George S. Patton over. Then we knew who the commander was. And he said, "We're going to be soldiers or else." And we had to wear ties, no khakis, no denims, khakis. You had to be soldiers. He didn't want to see you without a tie on.
So you had to wear a tie when you took care of cars?
Most of the time, the only time that you could wear denims was when you was actually working on vehicles. If you wasn't working, you had your tie on.
And then you went up through Germany and Patton was the commander?
No. Bradley was, wasn't it? Patton came in from the English Channel after they'd landed and got over there, and they were stalled, and they asked Patton, they said, "Well, Patton," they said, "get General George S. Patton over here as the tank commander and let's move on." And that's when they sent Patton over there. And he was with 3rd Army, I believe. In Africa, we was with the 5th Army.
And how long were you in the service totally? How long were you off American soil?
From we landed in, I think they landed at Casablanca in November of '42, and we was there till 45. I believe that's what it was. It's been so long, I can't remember.
Now, one of your brothers, Wetzel, was in the Navy. Wasn't his ship bombed, or was he on one of the, where was he?
He was on, I thought he was on the West Virginia, but somebody said he was on one of the others that sank over there.
In Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
So he was in the service during Pearl Harbor?
No, he wasn't in the service in Pearl Harbor, because he was younger than I was. He didn't get in until, it says bombed in December the 7th, 41, and I think they didn't draft him, or he didn't join until 42.
Where were you when the war was over? Where were you when you heard that the war was over?
We was in, what's the name of that town? Regensburg, Germany.
And how did you hear it?
Well, we had radios.
Is that how you heard it, was over the radios rather than through a commander?
Well, we heard it on radio. We had radio.
And so then you went to look for one of your brothers.
Yeah.
How did you know where your brother was?
My mother had wrote me that he was in what's the name? Down in a town just below where we were, and said, please go see him. Let's see. I can't remember the names.
Well, was it in Austria or Germany?
Yeah, Austria. And she said, he is down here in Austria, and go see him. And I said, well, the war was over. I said, okay, I'll go see him. So we loaded up a Jeep, me and the first sergeant, and we took off for Austria. And we got there, and the captain down there said they just left, going to Stuttgart, Germany. Well, we went back by the company and got some more gasoline in the Jeep. We asked the commander, and he said, yeah, go. The war's over. And so we went to Stuttgart, and they said, no way we can tell you where that company is. They're going straight to Japan, to the United States, and they're going to Japan. And I said, the war is over here. I got a brother I haven't seen for 4 years. And they said, we're sorry. And I started out the door, and the MP said, I know where they're at. Said they wouldn't tell me either. He said, I got a brother over there. He said, they're right out here on the top of the hill at Stuttgart. So we went out there, and the little lieutenant said, 90-day wonder said, you can't see him. And I said, oh yes we can. And he said, what do you mean? I said, we've been over here since it started, and we're going to see him. And the first sergeant said, yeah, I believe you ought to see him. So he sent him up there, and we talked.
And then how long after that was it before you came home?
Well, my brother, June, he went back to the United States, and that's when Harry Truman decided to end the war with the atomic bomb, and they let him out right there in the United States. And he never did go nowhere. And I was 2 months getting home.
When they bombed Pearl Harbor, Japan, were you still
in Germany?
Oh, you were?
Yeah. We was there, I guess, 2 or 3 months before they let us go. And then we had so many points. If you had so many points, you went home first.
How many points did you have?
Now, it seemed to me like I had 5.
How many did you have to have?
Well, that was top. When you'd been over there so long, you got every 6 months or something. I don't remember how they rated it, but if you had a point, so long, you got a point. If you was there any longer or so long, you got 2 points. Well, we all had 5 points. So we gotta go home first.
Did you ever see any of the men after you came home? Did you ever?
Yeah, I seen one he come down, I forgot the boy's name, but he come down and visited us. But, oh, yeah, we had some from New York. When they got over there, they had some replacements from New York. But most of them was from Indiana.
How were you received when you came home?
Well, they had a big to-do up in New York and give you a donut and a cup of coffee.
Is that where you landed? You came back to New York?
Yeah, and then went to Fort Meade, and that's where they discharged us.
Where's Fort Meade?
Maryland.
How did you travel home?
Train. We got on a train and come back.
Was there anything special done in Huntington when you came back?
Not that I know of. Just another train ride.
And then what did you do after that? Was it hard to get a job?
Well, they had the GI schooling that you could go to school for so long and they'd pay you so much and pay your schooling. And so I took off to Chicago to Coyne Electric School and learned electric motors and refrigeration.
So you used your GI Bill that way?
Yeah.
Is there anything, any highlight, any special thing that you remember?
Yeah, getting on that train for Huntington, West Virginia.
How did the war change you?
Well, I wasn't a young man anymore, I was an old man.
How old were you when it was over?
25,
So you went over there when you were about 20?
21. They sent us to New Orleans to guard the coast without rifles or much ammunition. And then we went back to Camp Shelby, and then we went to Indio, California, Desert Center, to train desert maneuvers with George S. Patton. And there we stayed 6 months. Then we knew where we were headed. We were headed for Africa. And so we got on a train and we went right back to my hometown, Huntington, on the way to Camp Hill, Virginia. And then from Camp Hill, was at Camp Lejeune, New Jersey, and from Camp Lejeune, New Jersey, on a boat to North Africa. 19 days were we on the boat, zigzagging across the Atlantic Ocean. We got on a train, was in Camp Young, and they gave us 7 days leave. And we got on the Zephyr. And when we got on there, and they got to going pretty fast, the conductor said, "You boys aren't supposed to be on here." And we said, "Yeah, we are. We're going to Huntington, West Virginia. We're going to Indiana and West Virginia." And he said, "Well, I can't throw you off, so I guess you are." So we went. Virginian, going to Washington, D.C. And that's where we ended up. Huntington, West Virginia, and Virginia, past line, Virginia.
So how many days?
CNO.
How many days did you get to stay there?
Well, I think I had to stay 4. Then get back on the train and go back to Indio, California, or Desert Center, and pack up everything and all the equipment and get on the train and go right back the same route we come back on, right through Huntington to Camp Hill, Virginia.
About what you have there?
This Bible, I carried this all through the war. All the way through. My cousin gave it to me.
What about the picture?
Well, when I was in Saarbrücken, Germany, they let you pack up some stuff to send back. No. I don't know where it was. I believe the war was over and they said you could send back some stuff from Germany if you had wanted to buy some stuff or purchase some stuff. And I sent back a lot of souvenirs, and this is one of them. This is one of them I sent back from Germany.
To your mom?
Yes. Put a letter that you could write, and then they put it on this. And that's what you got when they sent it home. This is what they received, this letter. You could only write so much.
Did they censor it? Did they censor your mail?
Max flavor.
Pops.
Mm-hmm.
Did they censor your mail?
Yeah, they sent it the mail.
I mean, did they censor it?
Oh yeah, they censored every letter on that. They censored all letters. That's a lieutenant that checked all mail, wouldn't go going in or out. There's his name. He initialed it. It was okay. All mail had to go.
What is that?
This is a letter. This is the Christmas card I sent to him in 1943. Sicily. There it is, Sicily. I sent it from Sicily from 1944. 1943 and 44 I sent a card. But I can't get over this Bible. I hadn't seen this for years. We went, when the war was over, they let you send so much home, and if you found some souvenirs, and I sent my aunt a tube of German cheese in a little tube, and she said, "I'm not eating that cheese." I don't know what's in it. And she held that cheese. I guess that cheese was over when she died, but she wouldn't touch it.
Did you were talking about ice before
when we got into Germany and the war was over, I mean, they surrendered. They had a brewery working, and we couldn't get anything cold to drink, couldn't get nothing. So one of the sergeants was out running around, and he found this brewery, and he brought us back a keg of cold beer. I didn't necessarily like one beer, but it was cold, so we drank it.
How did you feel this war was being fought?
Well, when they found out, we didn't understand it, except Hitler was taking over everything. But when we found those concentration camps, then we knew why the war should be fought. And of course, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, so we know we had to fight that. No doubt about it. my brother one time, I think he was on the West Virginian. I seen me laughing. He was a machine gunner on the top turret, and his buddy fed the ammunition. And he said one time that his buddy kept saying, "Let me shoot at them planes. Let me shoot them to the Japanese." And he said, "No, I'm the gunner." And he said, the boy kept on and kept on. So one day them Japs was really coming in at him, right and left, and said they was firing guns. And he said, "It's time to get out of there." And he said, "Here, okay, you just shoot all you want to." Is that funny?
Yeah, that was
Well,
good.
that was funny. That's one that he told me. He said that boy kept on. He said, "Here, you just shoot all you want to. I'm leaving."
What medals did you get?
Well, there was a good conduct, the rifle, the landing at Casablanca, and the landing of the arrowheads and stars at 6 months. Was it 6 months? No, was it the engagements you was into, and the Bronze Star? Good conduct.
What was the Bronze Star for?
Well, they had some equipment over there that they couldn't get running. They'd send them out, and they'd break down, and then we'd have to go get them. And they got aggravated. They called, we had mechanics. We sent mechanics out, and they worked on it. And they brought it back, and they worked on it. And okay, and they'd send it out again, and we'd have to go get it. So one day I said, "That's enough. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to get them so that they won't be breaking down." And I went out there and I stayed 2 days on them. And when I got through, I said, "They'll run." They never did break down no more. So they I guess that's what it was. I don't know. But they didn't break down no more. So we didn't have to go get them no more. One Jeep they blew up we didn't ever get. But the tanks, those Tiger tanks were something. We didn't see too many of them. Well, we seen them going back through the lines, but we didn't come in contact with them. Well, when the war was almost over, they come out of the mountains there and come out with their hands up. And we said, "Get on back there in the rear line." They wanted to get something to eat. They wanted to surrender. And I guess they thought people would guard them and get guards up there. They just told them, "Come back, the war's about over." And we knew it because the Russians was coming into Berlin.
Did you have much to do with the Russian army?
No, we didn't come in contact with them.
Statement.
Well, this is my granddaughter, and she wanted to know something about the war. So I've been giving her a little lecture on some of the incidents we went through, so she could understand a little bit about a war.
And what's your full name and when were you born?
James Hayes, April the 7th, 1918.
This is my grandpa. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
Our ancestors will appreciate it.
Yeah, I know your ancestors.